Grab your cocktail and get ready for this episode of the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast. Welcome to the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian, and on the screen, I know you can tell by his appearance, we got somebody from Iowa, Skyler Watson. Welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, by the thumbnail, all of our people know why you're on, and they're going to wonder why in sweet baby Jesus are you going to run 311 miles. But before we get there, we're going to talk a little bit about you. Have you ever seen an episode of the podcast?
I have.
So we like to talk as much about the man as we do just the Mason. So let's push Masonry and all that other cool stuff aside. Tell us who Skyler the man is.
All right. Skyler the man. That's a good question. So I got two kids. I guess that's a good place to start. So I got a beautiful three-year-old daughter. Her name's Ireland, and then a 5-year-old son. So when I'm not doing masonry or work, that's spending time with them. Background is a software engineer by trade. So prior to COVID, I was on the road traveling 250 days a year. So I've got a lot of amazing opportunities. Been around the world. So it's been really exciting life so far that I've been fortunate enough to live.
So you grew up in Iowa. You just moved to Iowa. Did you go to school in Iowa? Tell us more. We're extracting. We're peeling layers back, my friend.
Yeah. So I'm born and raised in Iowa. So I've always lived here. I had an opportunity to. Long story short, I was able to graduate with my associate's degree a semester before high school. So I had my college diploma before my high school diploma. So my high school years were a little different than most people. I spent the evenings doing college classes and then summer classes to be able to get enough credits. That was before like those AP programs.
Right.
We didn't have those back when I was in school. So yeah, I was born and raised here and went to school here at a community college. And my dad was a software engineer, and so he got me started at a young age and just kind of went down that path.
Nice. So I'm assuming when you say software engineer and people hear that, they want you to handle all of their techie stuff for you, right? Even though that might not always be in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, well, the response has to be just, have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wait, is the monitor on? Yeah. You got to go to the basics, especially if you're dealing with people my age or older. That's for sure. So, all right. So we've got that. Let's talk about your Masonic journey. Talk about where you started, where you're at today before we get into some other stuff.
Yeah. So I started at a small little lodge in Adel, Iowa. So we're just outside of West Des Moines, about maybe 30-ish miles, or well, it's a 30-minute drive anyways.
Adel Lodge number 80?
Adel Lodge number 80. Yes, sir. So that's where I started my Masonic career. And the person that top line signed me was really excited. There hadn't been anybody, at least active, that they had brought in for a few years. And so I think it was after my first degree, he introduced me to our district lecturer. So I know that's something that changes from region to region, but district lecturer in Iowa is somebody who's proficient in the not just the words of the ritual, but also the floor work. And so he's like, yeah, you should work with this guy to learn the ritual. I have a hard time saying no, and memory is not my thing. But it was brought up enough times where by the time I had my second degree, I started connecting with RDL and started learning ritual.
Right.
And then it kind of had a snowball effect from there. So I became a Masonic instructor, I think, about 6 months, 7 months after being raised.
Easy.
Yeah, and again, I'm not good at memory. So then everybody's like, "Oh, you suck at memory. So how'd you do it?" So then I started putting together a memory program, or educational rather,
Right.
on the what's that called? The Memory Palace. So I use the Memory Palace technique to where you go to a place in your mind that you're familiar with and place objects that remind you of certain words, and that helped me learn the ritual as quickly as I did.
I've never heard of that. Memory Palace.
Memory Palace, yeah.
We're going to put it
It's like
across the screen. So if any of you have just heard it, go look it up because I'm going to do it after this podcast.
it's a fascinating thing. I didn't think it would work for me, and I was laying in bed one night, looking at trying to practice the ritual, and I was like, I'm going to give this a try, and I forced myself to do it, and like I don't know if it helped. I went to bed, woke up the next morning, tried to use rote memory to bring it back, and I think I got a word or two, like brother, I think was the
Can't go wrong with that one.
Right, like yeah, that's easy. But then when I went back, like forced myself to go into that memory palace, I felt like I was word perfect. Probably wasn't, but I was at least able to get through the ritual, and
Right.
that was the moment like, hey, there's some substance to this. And so I started doing some educationals, helping out at different degrees. And then I was asked to be on our what we call the Lodge Service Committee here in Iowa. And so we don't have district deputy grandmasters, and so that's what I've heard is kind of the closest comparison for different jurisdictions. So we're not district deputies, but we do go around to different lodges and we assist and help lodges with educational materials, or if they need help putting on degrees or whatever it may be, like we help assist those lodges.
So how many Masons roughly are in Iowa?
I think last I checked, it's about 11,000.
So very similar to Kansas. Okay, and before I forget, what year were you raised a Master Mason?
I was raised in 21, November 29th of 21.
All right, gotcha. You're a post-COVID baby.
I'm a post-COVID baby. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. Um, so yeah, so I was asked to be a part of that, and I was honored to have been asked, and so I joined that committee and helped travel the state and worked with lodges, put together educational materials, and um, then I worked. Our lodge was a smaller lodge, so our secretary stepped out of his position. I was asked if I wanted to take it, and I think, as we all know, that your secretary for life.
Oh yeah, you just got voluntold and you didn't even know it.
So, and I was more than happy to do it.
Right.
And so I said I'll continue with the rest of this year, but come November when we do votes, like I'm not going to put my name in the hat. I would like to be in the East first. We need to shake up some chairs anyways, given people not wanting to move on. So that was the point where I took the East with the understanding that I would be taking secretary after my year.
Now, don't you think as secretary, this is just, I've never done secretary, nor do I think I would unless there's some dire situation and there's a call to service. But I would think to have the best grasp as a secretary is to have at least been in the East to kind of understand the workings. But is that flawed logic, or would you buy the theory? Or do you think you're tainted?
Maybe I'm tainted.
Yeah, right?
I think understanding the code is more valuable, and that was one of the first things I did. Maybe I'm weird, but I found the code of the Grand Lodge of Iowa quite fascinating, and so I'd read through that several times, and so I think that's really important in terms of being secretary and even being master of lodge. I feel like understanding the code of the Grand Lodge that you're a part of. There's a lot of value in that, because how else are you supposed to govern your lodge if you don't know the rules of the lodge? And the same with secretary.
I would argue Master Masons need to be given the laws. I mean, we give the bylaws of our lodge to our people when they're raised, our Masons. So I mean, I think the Grand Lodge bylaws at least be able to, here's a clickable link.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So maybe I'm a little biased on that question.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did my year as senior warden, did my year as a master, and in between those 2 years, I worked on. I saw a Facebook post where some Masons in I think it was Northwest Iowa, had a funeral that they needed help with. They didn't have anybody available to do the funeral, and I don't think the brother got the funeral, and that really stuck with me.
That's the last thing we're able to do for a brother, man. I hate that too.
Right. And so I remembered because I read through the code that there was a section about memorial lodges. And so I went back to the code and I read it. I gave the Grand Master at that time a call and I said, hey, so there's something about memorial lodges. You and I have been talking about doing like a um, funeral, like a Masonic funeral service club. Like, is this kind of the thing that we're talking about? And so he's like, yeah. And so I went through, I mean, it took about a year, but I went through like a year and a half of putting stuff together to be able to file a dispensation to charter a new lodge, which
Right.
would be a specialty lodge
Like an
focused on.
affinity lodge, we would refer to it as probably, right?
Yeah, and Iowa doesn't have affinity lodges, but yeah, we refer to it as a specialty lodge.
Conceptually the same.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. It's a special lodge focused on funeral services.
makes
And
sense.
so we got so we got dispensation, which is like a year. I think it's like a year probationary period is the way that I understand it. And then it was last. I think it's been a full year now. So I think like December 23rd of 23, we got our charter.
Okay.
So I was the chartering master of that lodge, um, which was an honor. And then the
Memorial Lodge number 3.
Memorial Lodge number three. Yep. Memorial Lodge number one. Nobody like we have no records of, so like we're not sure when that
You should have
was
done Memorial Lodge number 1A just to throw everyone off.
right. And then Memorial Lodge number two is still around, but I think they just meet through like they don't meet in person anymore. They just
Right.
I think do email
An
exchange.
occasional lodge.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, but anyways, the intent behind that was to educate people on, the funeral services, how to conduct them,
Yep.
to be a point of contact if a lodge needs help in putting one on, but then also doing educationals at lodges. So we have internal education, external education, and then like a level of assistance if
Nice.
needed.
Nice. So right now you're on the Grand Lodge line.
So I am the junior Grand Deacon of the Grand Lodge of Iowa. We don't have a line of succession here in Iowa.
So hold on, everyone listen to this because I asked him off camera. It's like, hey, are you, when could you be Grand Master? And, because he's Grand Junior Deacon. Now think about your jurisdictions. Oh, we don't have succession. I'm like, wait, what? My word's not his. That's weird. So tell me, Skyler, so how does this work? So every year is it just the Grand Master is elected and he picks a whole line? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so the elected officers are still elected,
Right.
and then the appointed officers are still appointed. So junior Grand Deacon is an appointed uh, office. So I
Yep.
was appointed as junior Grand Deacon this year, and then
Where does it
after
start? Senior deacon or junior warden? The
for
elected side.
the elected side, so the wardens are elected, the secretary treasurer is elected, and the Grand Master is elected.
Okay, that makes sense. So Kansas, it starts at the grand senior deacon, uh,
Okay.
kind of appointed in and then stuck in there, and then they elect around. So and everyone does it a little bit different. So I just always
Yeah.
curious about that. And as the grand junior deacon, you do not carry the title right worshipful, correct?
No, correct. That would be for the elected officers,
Okay.
the deputy grand master, and the grand chaplain.
Nice. So in Iowa, the Grand Master, he comes out of the Grand East. Will he maintain the title of Most Worshipful forever, or does he go to Right Worshipful after that?
It is still most worshipful after his year.
All right. See, there's several of you in Texas. You damn do the thing where you go back to Right Worshipful. I don't understand it, but I'm not here to understand. I'm just here to explain the differences. So,
So even the elected officers, so that's still not a line of succession at that point either for us.
wait. So the Grand Junior Warden is not a succession.
No, so what we do is so after my year, so
Yep.
next our grand communications in September. So after next September, 3 years after 3 years go by after our year, the grand master, uh, my grand master would be able to put a effectively how do I describe this? he would be able to uh,
Stack the deck.
no, he's able to put in a name in the hat. So he would be able to pick one of the appointed officers, and then that goes in the hat along with all of the past grandmasters would be able to pick somebody from one of their appointed officers as well. And then there is like an election type of thing that goes on where they determine the names on the ballot for the wardens.
Okay.
And then those names would be put up on the ballot for Grand Lodge for the craft to either write in somebody or to pick what the past Grandmasters and Wardens have decided.
Makes sense.
And then the position of Grand Master would be the outgoing Grand Master um, would outgoing Grandmaster gets to pick the incoming Grandmaster with the approval of the past Grandmasters.
Okay.
And that person they pick would be appointed as the chairman of what we have called the chairman of on the Committee of Division and Reference. And so if you're the chairman of committee, the chairman of on the Committee of Division and Reference would mean that you're the next year's Grandmaster.
Okay. So it's the deputy Grandmaster in lots of places. So
right, but we still do have a deputy grandmaster. But the deputy grandmaster is we do things. It's different. It's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, different. Okay, so now let's talk about some things here. Are you in trouble with the law?
In trouble with the law?
Are you in trouble with the? Okay.
Not that I know of.
Do you have a bully that's looking to take your lunch money?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then why in the world would you venture to run 311 miles? Tell us all about this, what it's for, what we should know, and why we're talking about this on the Masonic Podcast.
All right, fair enough. So running 311 miles across the state of Iowa is something that most people, including myself, would consider crazy and stupid. And fortunately, or maybe unfortunately for me, stupid things get attention. And what I'm trying to bring attention toward is Iowa Masonic Charities. And so Iowa Masonic Charities is a organization here in Iowa that has several different funds for helping the public. And so things that would consist of is like scholarship funds for people that are wanting to like go to university. There's a scholarship fund for like community colleges and trade schools. We got an assistance program for people who like got in an accident, now have to use a wheelchair, but don't have a wheelchair ramp, can't have access to their house.
Nice.
Any type of can't put food on their table and they need money to be able to get by and another.
And does that money stay in Iowa? Is this for Iowans?
Yep, this is a
good.
Iowa.
I like it. I'm fine. I think you should be able to take care of home first, so I'm good with that.
Yep. And so there's a lot of different there's several different charities that the Iowa or different funds that the Iowa Masonic Charities focuses on to try to help make an impact in the community. And so to me, it's important because a lot of times people don't understand who we are as Masons, or when we try to advertise Masonry, we advertise what it means to us or the wrong thing, right? Like the Be a Freemason campaign or ask one to be one, like that's really great. A lot of times, unfortunately, it comes off as recruitment.
Yeah.
And
our message needs to be improved as Masons. I think overall, whatever that looks like, it just needs to be improved from a public standpoint.
Absolutely. And to me, this is an opportunity for us as Masons to show who we are and what how we impact the communities. Not just say, hey, be a Mason because we have fun. And it's like, well, that's great. And that's what it means to you.
Sure.
But that might not be what would get somebody else's attention. Right. And so
exactly right.
I've had people petition my lodge because of the charity aspect. They were taken care of when they were growing up and they want to be able to give back. And that was what resonated to them. And so
I love it.
I feel like we need to, when we communicate who we are as Masons, we need to share the whole spectrum and not just pieces of it. So
So let's talk this through. You know, obviously we know you're a Mason, member of the Scottish Rite, the Gazing Shrine. So you're active across the bodies, right?
yeah.
So where does this 311-mile run start and where does it end?
All right. So we're starting in Sioux City, Iowa, which would be the border of Nebraska and Iowa.
Yep.
And then I'm going to be taking Highway 20 all the way across the state to Dubuque, Iowa, which would be on that Iowa-Illinois border.
Okay. All the way across. So how many miles a day do you think you're going to, obviously there's some weather dependencies, but what are like your milestones to hit? Where will you stay? How does that work? Do you have a camper running behind you, changing shoes out? Do you have the Forrest Gump shirt on? I mean, what is going to let people know when you're running down that you're not just the average runner? Are you going to have a crowd? What does that look like?
Yeah. So mileage, I'm want. So if you break it down, I think it's like 63-ish or 65 miles a day that I would have to maintain to be able to get it within the time frame that I'm shooting for. I'm going to try to bank some time by getting more mileage in that first day. So I'm going to be shooting closer to 80 miles. I'm hoping for that first day. In terms of sleep, I'm not planning 12, 12 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep or 6 hours. I'm planning on big runs like this. You're usually taking like 3, 4 hour cat nap, so to speak,
Yeah.
and then getting back out there. And
Yeah.
to me, that's for a few reasons. One, your muscles are going to get the longer you sit, the easier it is to talk yourself out of it. The more stiff you get. Like what I found is when I do long runs like that, my body's just in shock and I can't really, relax and sleep anyways. So might as well just keep going.
Well, what's the farthest you've run in a single 24-hour period?
So I've done some 100 milers. I got a 100 miler next weekend that I'm doing as well. So
That is crazy. Do you do any triathlons? Or is it straight running for you?
just straight running. So I'm not. I don't even like running.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense why you do it 311 miles in a row. I mean,
Right?
it makes sense.
Right? If you
So,
don't like something, just do it more. Right?
yeah. I mean, I guess it sounds like more broccoli for me. So all jokes, are you running solo? Are you running with a partner in crime? What's this look like?
Yeah. So the senior Grand Deacon this year is going to go with me. So this is kind of we're calling it the Grand Deacon program this year. So this is our opportunity as Grand Lodge officers this year to make an impact or make a difference, or at least feel like we're making a difference. And so he'll be with me the whole way. And then there's several people that have reached out saying that they want to run, 20 miles with me or 50
Oh, that's
miles with
okay. That's
me.
great.
Yeah, so I've gotten I think at this point maybe 15, 20 people that have contacted me saying that they want to not run the whole thing, but they want to run portions of the state. So it
Right.
doesn't sound like I'll be alone. There is a guy that wants to come with who will have an RV and bring that with. So that'll make it
Get your
nice when
feet up, get some moleskin on your feet, get your dry socks, shoes, insoles, all of those things.
Yep. So when we need that little 3 hour break, I can do it in more comfort than being on the side of the road. So
Yeah, for sure. So what's obviously it's for charity. So much charity. There's donations, and across the screen, you guys will see the donorbox.org. And also in the video description, click on that. You can go and support. Skyler, what's your goal? I mean, obviously your goal is $1 million, but what do you think? What's your goal? Do you have a goal that you're running for? Is it
yeah.
like a dollar amount?
So the goal is 50,000 is what I put out there.
Okay,
I figured aim high, right? Or otherwise you're not gonna
sure.
attain it. So 50,000 is the goal, and I've been surprised on the amount of support that we've gotten so far. So I'm hopeful that we'll reach that goal.
And is the organization a 501(c) or
Yeah.
C10?
Yep, it is a tax deductible organization, so it is a 501c3.
So everybody that knows me when we talk tax status, I already looked it up. So this isn't any clandy stuff. So this is legit. If you guys are looking this year to support an organization, check the link. If you're looking to support and you need to have some charitable donations that goes to something that supports Iowa, as an Iowan, do this. If you just want to help out your fellow man, you got lots of options. Help Skyler meet this goal of 50K. So you'll see on there, you'll see some stuff from us come your way, Skyler, because we Masons should definitely support Masons, and I definitely think we should do that. Anything else about this run we need to go before I take you to the most important question of the podcast?
It's just a simple run across the state, but 311 miles is definitely going to be a journey, and I'm sure it's not going to take long before I start asking myself why I decided to do it.
Yeah, that's for sure. I could do 311 miles in 365 days, so that's my goal. So, all right, now the most important question of the podcast. We've got John Wayne, Caitlin Clark, Cooper DeJean, and George Kittle. One of these Iowans can never, ever come back to Iowa. They weren't born in Iowa. They can't represent Iowa anymore. Which one of these four must go forever? They can never represent Iowa again. You've got John Wayne, Caitlin Clark, Cooper DeJean, the new Super Bowl champion, and George Kittle, the San Francisco 49ers. Who's got to go forever? They can never represent Iowa.
I feel like this is a trap, so I'm going to go with Caitlin Clark.
You're getting rid of the girl? Oh, my gosh.
No. But wait, are you saying one of them isn't?
One of them can never represent Iowa. You can never hold them as a representative of Iowa.
Okay, I misunderstood the question. I thought you were saying one of those four people were not born in Iowa.
No, they can never be a representative of Iowa.
Okay, well, I would pick one of the last two because I don't watch football.
Cooper DeJean or George Kittle. So you're going to either get rid of the Super Bowl champ, the rookie Super Bowl champ, or George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers from tight end U.
Yeah, and I honestly, either one. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of heat for saying I'm not a football fan.
No, that's good. So which one? Cooper's out or George is out?
Okay, we'll go with Cooper.
Cooper's out, the Super Bowl champ. Take your ring, but don't bring it back to Iowa, Cooper. So, Skyler, at the end of the podcast, we like to do that. And I know Skyler's uncomfortable now that I did that to him, but it's great. Guys, look across the screen. Support Skyler on this 311-mile run for the Iowa Masonic Charities. This is what we do. Skyler, appreciate you joining the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast. Cheers.
I appreciate it. Thank you.